The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello and welcome to today's webinar, Travel 101, Important Items That You Don't Want to Forget, offered by the Oregon State University Alumni Association in partnership with Oregon State's Professional and Continuing Education Unit. I'm Greg Aronoff, the Marketing and Communications Manager here with PACE, and I'm joined by Kate Sanders, who is the Director of Alumni Programs and Alumni Group Travel, and Julie Schwartz, who is the Associate Executive Director. Welcome and thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. Thank you.
And before we get started, I wanted to go over today's agenda real quick. So I work for Professional and Continuing Education, which is the non-credit arm of the university. We partner with colleges across campus to offer open enrollment classes to the public on subjects ranging from professional development to gardening to beer making. And we're always happy to continue our partnership with Kate and the Alumni Association. And we're excited to have Kate and Julie here to talk about the essentials of successful traveling. And without further ado, I'm going to hand it off.
Great. Thank you very much, Greg. Again, my name is Kate, and I'm the Director of Alumni Programs and Alumni Group Travel. And I'm here today with the Alumni Association's Associate Executive Director, Julie Schwartz.
Hello.
Hello. Julie oversees new initiatives and has experience in all ranges of alumni programs, and we're very excited that she is with us today.
Thank you.
Some of you may have met Julie. She has hosted a number of our tours, including Africa, Egypt, England, China, to name a few. They've all been great trips.
They have all been great trips.
Yes. So today's travel talk is one that Julie and I are both excited to be part of. And we're also thank the the OSU's Professional and Continuing Education, or PACE, for being here today. For those of you who are not familiar with our travel program, I wanted to give you a quick overview. The Alumni Association's program offers about 30 to 35 educational lifelong tours a year. They're international and domestic trips filled with in-depth cultural immersions, wildlife viewing, and chances to see natural wonders all over the world. OSU researchers and educators have numerous positive impacts throughout our world, and the travel program is one way to showcase these impacts. Many times, deans and professors join our tours as hosts for added educational content. It is our way of connecting you with OSU's expertise while seeing new places. So today, during Travel Talks, we are going to talk about, first, if you're considering group travel, we'll walk you through some of the types of touring and things to consider. We're also going to talk a bit about travel tips and travel apps. Originally, we were going to do a lot more on important websites and paperwork and insurance, but just because we had so many tips, we're going to give you a very good handout on some of those websites, and it's a little bit more of a dry conversation. So you'll get that after the webinar. A great handout on travel insurance, passport regulations, and visas, and so forth. One part of that, though, I do want to go ahead and mention is somebody wrote in and asked about the real ID for domestic travel. So I think I'll just answer that question real quickly.
Sure.
So the Real ID Act was passed by Congress in 2005, and it was based on recommendations from the 9/11 Commission. The purpose of it was to set standards for sources of identifications, such as driver's license. And so all these standards are for state-issued driver's license, identification cards, and they have to be met in order to receive one. So they're standardized throughout the U.S. So starting mid-June 2020, the state of Oregon will be issuing real IDs. You will need a real ID by, they're saying, October 2020 in order to travel domestically.
Domestically?
Domestically. You have to have either a real ID or a U.S. passport, a U.S. passport card, and there's a whole list, and I have the list in this handout for you. A permanent residence card, a border crossing card, a federally recognized tribal issued photo ID, a foreign government issued passport. So there's a few other things that you can use, but by that time frame, in order to get on a flight to fly domestically, you have to have one of these
But a passport will suffice if you have a passport.
If you have a passport, yes.
Great.
And if you want to get a real ID and not wait till your next renewal, they will be issuing them around July-ish. in Oregon.
Not ready
And you
yet.
will have to pay all the standard fees, and there will be an additional Real ID fee tacked onto it.
Yay.
But yes, so that
It's
is
important though.
It
So
is
thanks,
important.
Kate.
You're welcome. So that was one of those important things to talk about. The other one, real quickly, is travel insurance. We always can't say more about how important travel insurance really is.
Yes.
There's been many times I've heard about people having to cancel trips and losing thousands because something happened to a loved one or something happened to themselves. And if they don't have traveler's insurance, then all of what you invested in that tour is gone.
Yeah. It's about protecting your investment, and these trips are not cheap, very high quality, and you definitely want to protect your investment. And things happen, life happens. So always purchase travel insurance.
Yes, and so if you have any questions about insurance or a suggestion of one company, we typically use USI Affinity Travel Insurance Services. I send out the information with everyone who books a tour, their phone number and their website, and that information will be in your handout as well. And if we have more time at the end, I can go through some more of these more resources, such as travel.state.gov. It's a great website, and TSA.gov, and that sort of thing. And that might not be in a future webinar all on its own.
Absolutely.
Yes. Okay, so we'll get going. First, let's talk about considering group travel. So one thing to think about for group travel is that it means easy travel. Wouldn't you say, Julie?
I would say easy travel for the most part. It's not your grandparents' travel. If you're visualizing buses and few stops and not so much independence, they have changed. These trips are usually very dynamic, they have moments of, can be quite active. It's not the same, and they're definitely full of education, which is something that you can't just purchase on a website travel package. You will get behind the scenes, you will have access to things that you couldn't have access to if you booked it yourself. Most typically, they have these travel companies we work with have amazing connections and amazing relationships, and you are the beneficiary of all of those contacts that they have.
They get you in the front of lines.
Yes.
They get you into places before the crowds hit.
Or places that you couldn't even get into. One example is Downton Abbey, otherwise known as Highclere Castle. No tour groups could get into those, but because it was in a Gohagen trip, our group had access to Downton Abbey, Highclere Castle, which was amazing.
Yeah, it was pretty neat.
Mm-hmm.
Also with group travel, you don't have to worry about any of the hassles as you do when you're traveling by yourself. Transportation, trying to figure out bus lines, train lines, how to find a cab or
all
a car.
All the logistics are taken care of.
It's just so low stress, and it's so nice. Many, many, many times I've heard people say to me, I don't think I would like group travel. And then they go on a tour, right, and they say, I'm hooked. This is the way to go.
And especially some countries are easier to navigate than others. So where I think group travel really earns its stripes, there are places like perhaps Africa, or you're going to the Amazon, or you're going to
Egypt.
China or Egypt. These
Japan's big right now. Yes.
So that's where they're really lovely.
Yeah, well, even Italy. I mean, one of the most popular selling destinations in group travel
always
is Italy and anywhere in Europe.
Yep.
So it is just great. It's because all the logistics are handled for you. And they don't just take you to the standard sites. Right. They take you to some very unique gems that they find. But one example was in Costa Rica, we visited a family who grows orchids, and we learned all about the orchid growing process in Costa Rica and how they sell them. And then in turn, we ate a very wonderful meal with the family at their home. So they have a lot of these really personal touches within the country that are really great. One other part of it is creating lifelong friends. Many of you may have saw in our winter 2019 Stater magazine article The article was entitled "Alumni Travel Can Be the Route to Friendship." It is true. That was an article focusing on 3 couples that have met on tour and continue to travel from this point forward. So, and they're actually on a trip together right now. So it is really nice to see those relationships and friendships on group travel. There's a lot of time where I see some of our travelers go off on trips and I just wish I could be with them because they're so much fun.
They form many times great friendships, and on many of our trips you're also possibly sharing it's still a small group, but you might be with another university or 2, and it's been a lot of fun getting to know alumni from other universities.
Yes.
We had University of Minnesota was with us in Egypt, Johns Hopkins in Africa, and everybody got along and bonded, and that makes for a richer experience.
It does. It's really fun. And also your guides. When you are traveling, you're with an expert the entire time. Not only are they telling you about the location and all the history, natural sciences, historical, everything, they also a wealth of information in terms of the best stops, the best shops to find your souvenirs, the best restaurants to eat at. They're a wealth of information.
They are the hidden gems. They're typically natives of the country that you are being guided in. And when Kate says experts, I would say PhD level in many cases. We had an Egyptologist with us for the recent trip to Egypt. Our guide in Africa was unbelievable with the flora and the fauna.
We had such a great guide that President Ray wanted to bring him back to the university just this past spring.
And did.
So Hassan Latif joined us back here in the States. He was President Ray's Egypt guide and shared his knowledge with everyone locally. I mean, they're top notch, and the tour companies do an amazing job vetting their guides. An amazing job.
And not all guides are equal, so I think that's something that really sets this group travel apart.
I agree. So one other thing one of our listeners asked about ahead of time is about solo travelers when you're dealing with group travel. A lot of times we do have solo travelers mixed in with the group, and it's great. I will say, actually, I host solo 99.9% of the time. And I do have solo travelers on tours, and they're comfortable. People are very nice with them and communicate. They have group dinners, and it is a good way to travel. We also have trips that have which is called a no solo supplement, or there's no added fees for a solo traveler. So on those, you'll see there are quite a few. Like one example is Dutch waterways coming up. I think I have 6 solo travelers on that tour.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
so it's
great.
pretty nice. Yeah,
and I would echo that. Don't be afraid if you want to travel as a single. These groups are not unwelcoming. Everybody gets along. Everybody bonds. Often I travel as a single host too, so it's not unusual, and it's very rewarding.
It is very rewarding. Some types of tours, and we'll go through this briefly because this too actually could be its own webinar. But riverboats. Riverboats are wonderful. They're very popular. It's actually below from cruising. It's the second most popular way of traveling right now. And you unpack once, you get into your boat. The boat takes you to a variety of different locations. Your excursions are typically paid for ahead of time. They're not added extras. All your meals are covered. There's time on your own.
Very independent.
Yes, there's a lot of independence in it, and there's a lot of choice on excursions. A lot of the AHI's riverboat tours that we do have active excursions, such as biking, as well as walking and city hikes. Foodie excursions,
Those
wine
are popular.
excursions. Yes, so you have a lot of flexibility, which is nice. Land tours, when we say a land tour, we're meaning basically you're not on a riverboat or on a cruise ship.
Although you could be on a boat. I mean, I've been on land tours where it's literally planes, trains, and automobiles. So
Yes.
it might be an airplane as we were going into the Serengeti. You might be on a train. You might be on a bus for part of it.
Or just getting from point A to
Point A, yeah. It's
Yes.
but they're fascinating, and you really get to see the country in different ways.
And the variety, there are very active land tours. Hiking Mount Kilimanjaro is an option. There are more beach lounging land tours and cruises. So there's depending on what your goal is for your vacation, if you want it more active or less active, there's a lot of variety in
You
it.
have lots to choose from.
Train tours are also very popular right now. We have a couple actually in our itinerary coming up. One is the Trans-Siberian Rail trip through Russia, and that one you're spending the night on the train, and there's a couple hotel stays as well. And then we also have a variety of train trips like the Great Trains and Grand Canyons in Arizona, where you're spending the night in a hotel in Sedona, but you take train trips during the day to the Grand Canyon and a couple other places.
That one sounds really cool.
Yeah, and
very
it's
unusual.
A really great price.
Excellent.
So that's a really great one. So shoulder season traveling, that means when you're traveling not really at the peak or the height of a travel season, it's a great time to see cities like Barcelona.
It is.
Yeah.
Or even the Southern Mediterranean. I would say our travel partners work with us to provide, they want to give you the best experience. So that's generally not at the height of the tourist season or you're jostling with a ton of other folks. So take advantage of those shoulder season times.
Yes, and we might be offering a few more shoulder season trips, mostly just for price.
Mm-hmm.
Price and crowds. So we can go to a spot that is still a beautiful time of year,
Right.
but there's fewer people, and it ends up being a lower price. So it's really great.
I would agree.
Yeah. So when you're looking at trips, a couple tips, definitely look at what size your group is. Our group sizes can be as low as 12, and they can be larger. So depending on what your interest level is, well, a lot of our trips tend to be around the 20 to 21 size group. Some of them are bigger, but when they are bigger, you're really only together maybe on a coach getting from point A to point B, and then you're divided up into smaller groups. So we try, even if it is a larger amount as the entire group, maybe with some other schools, we bring it down to a smaller group within an OSU group, or certain excursions. Look at your excursions, see if they're included or not included. Some excursion prices can be pretty pricey, so it could be an added cost. So
some are already included, so
Yes.
you might get 2 to 4 included excursions and the rest are add-ons. So just make sure you understand those nuances, or you can always call us to have that clarified.
Definitely. Same with meals. If you're looking through itineraries, you might see initials like B, D, or L, and that will tell you if breakfast, lunch, or dinner is included. If you see that you only see a few B's and a couple D's, then that's an indication to you that there's more independent time. It's more time for you to get out and try the local restaurants, to do your own thing. So depending on if you want to be more with the group or less with the group, meals are a good indication of that.
Although I will say, once you get to know your fellow travelers, 9 times out of 10, the group will still stay together for those independent meals, or parts of the group will.
Yes. So keep going. Gratuities, just know what's expected. A lot of times on cruise ships, they will add it automatically on your bill. So just pay attention to what your bill says. Look at your accommodations. And then, of course, the guides, the lectures, the historians, the special inclusions. Those are a very important part of travel. And that is what all of our companies that we work with do a superb job at.
They do.
So those are some of those great tips. And then now,
we're into the grab bag section.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. So we'll go to travel tips, and
there's a lot. So we have organized these.
Yes,
somewhat.
Into some pre-tour, some packing, suggestions for packing your carry-on, and so forth. So we'll just kind of
everybody who's listening will get all this. Is that right?
Yes,
Kate?
everyone will. So you don't have to take notes.
Yeah.
You'll get copies of these slides, and we will have handouts. So first, for pre-trip, first and foremost, check your name on your flight itinerary. Make sure it is spelled as exactly how it is on your government issued ID. So definitely check that, as well as make sure that you're flying out of the right airports. So just in case.
On the right day.
On the right.
Believe me, it happens. So don't take for granted that those documents are always accurate. Take a moment to check the date, check your name. Make sure you're going to the right country.
Yeah. You don't want to end up in Africa if you're meant to go to
Awkward,
Greece.
yes.
If your travel company, which a lot of our travel companies help out with booking air for you, just make sure, and they'll give you all of this information in your pre-trip documents, but keep it with you. Your after-hours phone number and their protocol if your flight is canceled. I was actually just talking to 2 of our travelers that are heading to Greece right now, and one of their legs was canceled, and so we were on the phone together with our tour company, getting them rerouted. So just make sure you know that what the protocols are if things happen.
And same with your final documents, including a copy of your passport. Make sure you have a copy with you in your carry-on. I always tuck one in someplace in another bag, just in case one bag gets separated. And then leave a copy of your passport and your travel documents with a close friend or family member before you leave. Just a good policy.
Yeah, I actually even photocopy my credit cards and leave those at home with my husband, just in case I need to make a phone call.
I should do that.
You should do that. Do it on your next trip. Expect some delays and be flexible. It's travel, it's air, things happen.
It's life.
And it just go in knowing that you're willing to be flexible, and it'll be a lot better experience.
The beauty of traveling with us, however, is that you have a lot of backup. So you will have the name of who to call and their number from the company that we're working with. Whoever the travel partner is that you're traveling with will give you extensive contact information. And then, of course, either Kate or someone in our office, myself, are only a phone call away, and we'll get it taken care of. And so we're there for you.
Yeah. We'll do real quickly on some of the finances. Some of the main points of finances are don't order money ahead of time through banks. It's not needed.
You mean local currency?
Local currency, sorry. Yeah. Yes, local currency. You might, a lot of times it's suggested, especially if you're going to Costa Rica or certain places where they will take American dollars, that you'll want new, fresh, crisp
dollar bills
with no marks on them. So if you want some U.S. currency, just make sure it's clean with no marks. But otherwise, foreign currency, most people have debit cards these days, and that is actually the best place to get foreign currency is when you arrive in country, at the airport, at hotels, at local banks. Just use the ATMs and get local currency.
And your guide will tell you if there's a non-reputable ATM. I mean, sometimes you do have to be aware of the machine you're using, but your guides will
help you.
They will help you, but you get a much better exchange rate if you get your money from your debit card once you're in country.
Very true. And so many places just take credit cards. Few exceptions, but mostly credit cards. But make sure your credit card companies know that you're traveling so they don't shut them off. A couple new ones with chips. Some of them may not require it anymore. I have one that doesn't require it, but call them first and make sure. Also with credit cards, there is a PIN number associated with your credit card. Here in the US, we don't usually use credit card PIN numbers, but they do in Europe. So, and I have one card specifically, I always have to enter the credit card PIN number when I use it. Call ahead of time, 2 weeks. I say at least 2 weeks before you travel to make sure you know your credit card PIN numbers, because some companies have to physically mail you a new PIN and you can't reset it over the phone.
Very true.
Yeah, so.
I have a pro tip. Speaking of spending and using your credit card, if you have a plan to get gifts for folks back home and you want to keep to a budget, I have preloaded a Visa card with my credit union for a certain amount of dollars, and then I just use that. And then that helps keep me somewhat in line if I'm traveling and want to buy 500 scarves.
Yes, and there's probably no foreign transaction fee.
There's no transaction fee, and you can reload it if you need to. It's kind of a neat deal, so ask your bank about those.
Yeah, that's really great. And then with theft, it's controlled.
Right. You can only get so much.
You only can get so much. RFID blockers, those are radio frequency identification. You've probably heard it. There's backpacks with RFID blockers, wallets, pants. They're in pockets of pants now. Honestly, the jury's out whether or not they're even worth it. So what they're saying is that only certain cards actually have RFID technology. You know if your card has it, if you can actually tap and go to pay, like on a credit card machine, like pay to go, and if it has like a sidewise Wi-Fi symbol on your card. Those are the cards that are RFID technology. Not every chip credit card is RFID technology. And then if someone by chance were able to get that radio frequency from your card sitting in your pocket, the card actually only emits one code for one transaction. And it does not give any of your address information, and it does not give that 3-digit code on the back of your card that you need for online purchases. So if by chance, which actually not a single credit card company that I've read about so far has actually had fraud this way. And if they did have fraud, one, it's extremely hard to track. They cannot prove it that it was that way, so that's probably why we don't know about it. And then also, it's only for one purchase. You couldn't do it for more than one purchase. So
basically, it's not something to stress about.
No, if you're worried about it, you can actually wrap your card in aluminum foil, and they'll do the same thing.
It's just so elegant.
And then the other side of it is if you do have an RFID backpack or bag, and your cell phone is in there, say goodbye to your battery. It'll drain it, because it can't get a signal. So it'll just keep searching and searching and searching for a signal.
If you have your web on.
If your phone's in that bag.
So, good to know. Moving on to a little more upbeat. All of you are lifelong learners, or you probably wouldn't be listening in, but be sure to do some reading or researching on the web, or go to the library. It's so helpful to have a view of the area, at least from a historical and certainly from a current cultural perspective. What's a political structure? What's the exchange rate? What are some of the local foods that you definitely want to be on the watch for, that you want to try? And then also what to shop for. There are zillions of websites, which we will talk about a little bit later, in addition to books and friends and other resources. But it really does help to enrich you. And I always create a little mini bucket list of things I want to experience, see, try, purchase before I go on a trip. And that's based on doing a little research beforehand.
And I always use Travel2 as a great way to get my gifts. So birthdays coming up, holiday gifts, what have you. So I think about who's on my list.
They're so special when you pick something for someone back home from a place you've traveled.
It is.
They're always amazing.
And then you get your holiday shopping done early.
In theory.
So check. And we'll talk a little bit about videos, but I actually do a lot of podcast streaming and YouTube watching on places that I'm about to travel to, because not always do I have time to run to the library to get a book. And sometimes, frankly, it's just easier.
Listen in your car.
Yep. So I'll just go to YouTube, type in a country, and just watch videos. And it's really nice. There's so many travel vloggers out there. So many. All right, let's talk about packing, Julie.
Before we move on, one more quick thing about shopping. Brush up on your bargaining skills for most travel, not everywhere. Especially if you plan to visit the local markets, bring home the souvenirs, as Kate was mentioning.
Yeah.
I would say as Americans, we're not always as comfortable with bargaining, so seek out someone who is. Once again, go online, watch some YouTubes. It's usually expected. It is not rude to bargain, especially if you're at a big marketplace. And it's a lot of fun. It's a cultural experience you should have.
And what I do is actually ask my guide first and say, I think I want to buy this. What would you expect that I should pay for it?
Yes.
And then I have a little knowledge.
Your guide will know, and they'll usually lurk in the background and make sure that you get the best deal.
Yeah. They're great about that.
They are great about that.
Okay, so now on to packing. Packing. Julie and I have very similar ways of packing, and so I'll let Julie begin, and I'll add in my thoughts.
Sure, and I'm not saying I always get this right, so it's a great theory, and I need to stick to it even more than I do. So first of all, look at your itinerary, and this is for almost any trip. What are you going to be doing every day, and make sure you're covered, literally. Are you going to go out on a boat? Are you going to be needing a sun hat? Is it going from daytime to evening without a break to go back to your room to change? So think about all that and then start laying out accordingly some of your clothing options. Ideally, make sure everything matches or close to it. So I like to lay stuff out, and that involves finding a space, a spare bedroom, a flat space, someplace you can lay it out visually. You can really see if you're getting out of control once you start laying your clothes out.
It's true.
Yeah, and then separate it by tops, bottoms,
Yep.
maybe evening wear, your jammies, all the normal things. And then let it sit for a little while,
Yep.
because your brain will work on it while you're doing other things, and you'll remember things.
And remember what's in your laundry basket.
And you'll remember what's in your laundry basket. And then this is the really hard part. Then go back when you're getting close to packing and take out about a third. And that takes discipline, but you will thank yourself later. Almost everywhere you can have a laundry, rinse out clothes, throw on a scarf. This is for the ladies, of course. No one cares if you're wearing a new outfit every day, and it's silly to expect to be doing that.
It is. We're all traveling together, and if you're wearing something twice, it doesn't matter.
No, you will see. The smart people wear things over and over, but they mix them up with different tops or a different accessory or whatever.
And I actually write out with my itinerary what I'm going to wear that day, and that helps me keep things organized. And I actually then bring it with me on the trip to remind myself what my packing schedule, process.
So you don't panic.
Yeah. Oh shoot, I wore that yesterday and I wanted to wear that today.
Right.
So I do actually write out what I want to wear each day. And it does help thinking, and scarf. Bring a scarf. I'm going into religious buildings and I must have my shoulders covered.
Absolutely. I mean, for sure. If there's a chance you'll be in churches, ladies bring at least some kind of skirt or a scarf.
Yep.
Just in case. And certainly layers works almost anywhere in the world. A base layer, long and short sleeve shirts, certainly in the Amazon and hot places, you want a shirt so you don't sunburn.
And right now Costco has really great men's traveling pants.
Oh, those pants
they're wonderful.
My husband is obsessed with those pants.
Yeah, great price, and they're nice.
And they look good for dinner as for going on a safari.
Yeah, so things that dry quickly. I bring skirts often because skirts are great for warm weather, for hiking in Torrena City, even with a more casual shoe. And they're perfect for put on a different top and a scarf, and you're done for dinner.
Right.
They're great. So skirts, capris are always wonderful to wear because you can do the same thing with a nice pair of capris. A lot of times you can dress up an outfit just with a change of jewelry or adding a scarf.
Once again, this is for the ladies.
Yeah.
Same with jewelry. Don't bring really expensive items. I mean, obviously keep your wedding ring on, but don't bring anything that may get lost or you may really, really be upset if it gets stolen. So
and one tip about packing jewelry is you can put it in little like pill cases, pill bottles, like the weekly, everyday.
That's a good idea.
That's a good to put necklaces. You had a great idea about straws.
Yeah, if you are taking a necklace or two, just use a straw. Thread it through, attach it, and it won't get super tangly, and you can just tuck that inside your bag.
I use Ziploc small little snack baggies a lot for organizing all of those things. Great.
And the companies that we work with, whoever you're traveling with, will send you a suggested list of items to bring too. So they are on top of that and give you some great suggestions.
Definitely. All right, in your carry-on, we'll go on here. Always put in, because we're talking a lot, so we'll go through some of these quick.
Yes.
In your carry-on, put in your important documents, all your contact information, definitely your medicine. If for medicines, you don't have to have it it can be divided out in your weekly organizer if you want to, but definitely keep a copy of your prescription medicine information in case you need refills. So if they're not in the original bottles, which is best case scenario, but if they're not in the original bottles, then make sure you have all that information photocopied. Toothbrush, change of clothes, all your valuables. I always keep a little first aid kit of headache medicine, a sleep aid if it's a really long flight. Earplugs really do help on planes.
Eye mask.
Yep, eye mask. Electrolytes. I always bring powder electrolytes. It's just a powder like a emergency. There's a variety of different companies that have them. It helps with dehydration. It helps if you get a little bit too much sun. It helps even if I'm feeling really tired. I just have some extra electrolytes and I feel better. Great for jet lag. Hand sanitizer. Your Kindles, your computers. Hopefully you're not bringing an entire computer on your tour and you're actually vacationing. But
and I would echo the electrolyte or emergency or whatever little fizzy drink that you like, but dehydration can really happen. It happened with a group of ours recently, and they didn't realize it because it wasn't that hot, but it was very dry. So keep those handy. Another pro tip and something I discovered a couple years ago is a footrest. If you're 5'8" or shorter and you're on a long flight, it's painful sometimes to just, your little feet are dangling or they're not very comfortable. So you can get a footrest sling that fits over your TV tray, your seat tray, and they're $8 to $19.99 on Amazon. There's a zillion kinds, but wow, it feels amazing to have that.
Foot hammock.
It makes all the difference.
Foot hammock is a keyword. Another one, it's advertised for kids, but they're almost like an inflatable pillow for your feet. And I was thinking about it.
This one I'm not sure about.
Well, maybe I'll buy it and then I'll test it out.
I got to see it.
But I am one of those people on flights, especially those really long 10-hour plus flights, because I don't pay for the extra leg room or the or the business class seats. I'm back in economy, and I I always laugh at myself. I literally have a pillow I sit on because my tailbone hurts from being in those chairs for so long. Yeah. So I am sitting on a pillow.
Foot's on a pillow.
My foot's on a pillow. I have my own living room.
Like a throne back there.
And then my foot hammock. My earplugs, because that constant drowning of an airplane. Of the airplane noise, those earplugs really help.
Yeah, they do.
Downloading music onto my phone, so I have some music to listen to, podcasts to listen to, books to read. It helps get through those really long flights.
Yeah, I agree. Go prepared.
Yeah, go prepared.
And I always bring a pair of socks to change into too. So you want to get out of your shoes so your feet get swollen anyway on a flight. Make sure you got some comfy socks.
I actually don't travel unless I have compression socks. I always wear compression socks.
And I even have flight slippers.
Yeah.
I mean, they look like they're pretty grandma.
No, we don't overpack.
No. They're very thin, but then when you can go to the restroom and not have to put your shoes on again, so maybe I'm lazy.
It's important to be comfortable.
It is.
Those, especially if you're flying to
usually
Africa.
The flight's the least favorite.
Oh yeah, and if you're on a really long flight,
Australia,
and I need to sleep, and it's hard to sleep in those planes, and so I literally will do almost anything I have to in order to catch some Z's on a plane.
Well, let's go that to during the trip then, since we want to make sure we leave enough time for a few questions.
Great.
So managing jet lag, there's all kinds of things. There's even some great homeopathic things you could find in your natural food store, which I've had some great luck with. Eat light on the plane. Kate, you mentioned some people actually fast. I don't know if I could actually do that.
Yeah.
Limit alcohol. Definitely try to get some sleep. Get up every few hours, walk around, and then start keeping the local schedule as soon as you land, as much as you can. You can take a short nap, of course, and usually these trips allow for downtime for that. Go to bed early, and then just get ready to go. Certainly melatonin helps too if you're into that.
And my big jet lag thing, actually eating light does help, believe it or not. I've done it, and it makes a difference. The limiting the alcohol, because alcohol gets you dehydrated. And you think some people like, oh, I'll just have a glass of wine and go to sleep. It actually makes it a little bit harder. So limiting alcohol and eating light. And then when I land and I get to my location, exercise, keep active. That to me is if I go out for a walk or just moving.
Get the sun in your face.
Yes, if you're on a riverboat, just check out one of the e-bikes and go for a bike ride. And it does make a big difference. If you need to take a nap, 20 minutes. Do a short 20-minute nap. And then get up and keep plugging through and then go to bed early.
Good tips.
Yeah, you still may wake up at 3 a.m. wide awake, but it'll be a lot better.
It's better.
Yeah.
Another thing that I like to do and I encourage groups to do is, engage with the local residents as much as you can when you're on these trips. So whether it's a shop owner, certainly a hotel staffer, even someone you meet on the airplane. This is where you get more insight into the country. I always ask them, what do you love best about your country? What do you see are some of the challenges? What would you like a traveler to see in your country? And you can get some really great insights doing that and feel closer to the place you're going to be.
Yeah. We talked on our slides, we have user guides. Definitely use your guides when you are on tour. Talk to the locals. We talked about electrolytes. One thing, take pictures at signs at sites. This is one thing I do. So everywhere I go, if it's a museum or a city or what have you, I always take a picture of the entrance sign.
Smart.
And then I know that the pictures following that are at that site. Sometimes you're going to see a lot of things.
It's a really, really good tip because
Yeah.
when you get back, sometimes you've seen so much, it just, and you're, yeah.
Where was this again?
What was I doing?
What was the name of this
so
place?
helpful.
Yeah, it is so helpful.
Brilliant.
And then also upload your images while you're on tour to an online storage site. I do that. My camera or my phone is automatically linked to Google Photos as well as Amazon. I'm an Amazon Prime account. Not endorsing any company, but they're linked to those, so they're already online, and I don't have to do it when I get home. And they're backed up, so if anything does happen, my photos are always backed up.
No, that's because it's nothing worse than losing your photos on a trip of a lifetime.
No.
Another thing, if you're heading out to do some sightseeing on your own or going out to dinner on your own, maybe in a place where they don't speak a lot of English, make sure you grab a card from the front desk or the concierge. That way you can hand that to your cab driver or your transportation person. Just that way you can hand it to them and they know where you're staying and how to get back.
Yeah.
If you forget, and I have done this a zillion times, a charger for your phone or an adapter, ask the hotel. We stay, these accommodations are nice and they are well equipped and they will have extras for you to borrow.
Yeah, they usually do.
Yeah,
I mean,
so
don't
it's not the end
count
of the
on
world.
it. Like, I mean,
no, don't depend on it.
But yes, in case you do forget something, they'll have it. I have here let's go ahead and turn for perfect. Crossbody bags, anti-theft bags, waist packs, whatever you decide to wear, crossbody bags, put your stuff in. Don't just use the standard one over-the-shoulder purse. That's easily gets stolen. But backpacks, there's companies that have anti-theft backpacks or locking backpacks. Stuff on your back is easier for pickpocketers to get to, so
just
pay
be
attention
aware.
to that.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And then waist packs, pickpocketers can still get into them. So just be aware of your surroundings, of what you have. And that's kind of whatever you decide to pack your stuff in. Just pay attention to where you are. And your guides, too, will tell you if you're in an area that you need to be more careful about. I was in Europe, and our guides had a whole communication going on with each other because we were in two different groups. And like, watch out for this person over here. Watch out for this person over here. So they key into it. They can see it.
They do. They are amazing. They will protect you if you're getting swarmed by potential vendors or they're impeding your progress or any of that stuff. So don't overly be concerned about that, but it's always good to be aware of your surroundings.
If someone's standing there in the corner with an upside down map, usually that's a tip that they're not looking at their map.
Yeah, that's a good tip.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. If you're on a cruise, take your cruise news with you. So what that is, a lot of times at night, they always give you a document that tells you about where you're going, what your port's like, has emergency contact information, what time the boat is leaving. You don't want to miss your boat. Take that with you on your excursions so you can call somebody or it's just a great resource.
Super helpful.
Save your itineraries for later. They're great to remember where you've been. Great for scrapbooking, for even taking pictures of and uploading into a photo book. They're wonderful to have. Save your local currency for tipping.
Yep.
They prefer tips in local currencies.
And also for using the restroom in some countries. Certainly in Egypt, you need small change for the attendants in the restrooms, and in China as well. So once again, your guide will be your guide to this, but small change is helpful for that.
Definitely.
Favorite shopping items. This is part of your research, talking to friends, getting online. But here's, at the risk of being obvious, scarves can be amazing buys of all types. Local jewelry. I love to collect small paintings by local artists of evocative scenes. At one point, I literally took one out of this gentleman's hands right when he finished it, it was still wet. That was a little tricky, but you can get amazing buys. And every time I see that picture, I think about my trip to the Amazon.
That is the one thing that I actually, some people, they collect spoons everywhere they go.
Sure.
Some people collect magnets everywhere they go. I collect local art.
Yeah.
I love it. Even if it's, you know, a local postcard. I always bring home a local piece of art. That's my favorite thing.
It's something you'll always treasure. Spices, if you're a foodie or you know foodies, the spices in other countries are different. They're usually less expensive in some cases, so that is always a welcome gift. Handmade pillowcases can also be local art. I've gotten some gorgeous things in Africa, and they travel like a dream because they're flat. You fill them with the pillow when you get home.
Yep. And then I think we'll probably, if there's another quick tip, one quick tip that we skip by that I think is worth mentioning. If you're going to a place that's really buggy and you need some sort of bug repellent, there are clothes that are made that have built-in bug repellent in the clothes. That is an option. Another option is just to take one of your long sleeve shirts and spray it down with bug repellent, and then put it in a Ziploc baggie or a baggie so it's you know, protected from your other clothes, and have that be your one bug shirt. Which I think is great. The only thing about Ziploc bags or one-time use plastic bags, they are banned in most countries in Africa. So if you're traveling to Africa for environmental reasons, they've really are being strict about single-use plastics. So do not bring single-use plastics to Africa. So anything that you pack your bags in or pack your luggage, it can be plastic, but it has to be like a multi-use,
like
thicker,
a cube, but a luggage cube is fine.
Right. What they don't want is like single-use trash bags, single-use laundry bags, like little food Ziploc baggies. They don't want any of it.
Okay, good to know.
Yep.
Speaking of food, I think you guys all know this, but be flexible. Try the food.
Yes.
Don't unless you're on a special diet or you have health concerns. Don't not try the local food. That is a huge part of the culture, a huge part of why you travel. So be brave. Try things.
Definitely try things. And your guide will let you know, maybe a restaurant to avoid if you're worried about it, or a safe restaurant. So, but definitely eat the food.
Yes.
Yeah. And you had one more thing?
I was just going to mention, as you're packing, if you're traveling with us, bring something OSU, a logo shirt, an orange hoodie, whatever you're doing. If you can bring an OSU logo wear, awesome, because we do a group photo and it's a keepsake and it really is amazing.
Yeah, and actually to mention that, I will say most everyone that travels with us are members of the Alumni Association.
Yes, correct.
And part of your membership benefits includes discounts on Beaver gear online. So you don't have to live in Oregon to get this discount. Your membership perks when you become a member, you can get all the information on how to do that. As well as you get 10 to 25% off on rental cars and hotel discounts. You get more than 300,000 offers and discounts from large online retailers to small shops and restaurants.
You get discounts to our alumni events, including tailgaters.
And you get exclusive access to employee stores such as Adidas, Columbia, and Nike.
That's huge.
Those are more region specific because there's some in California, there's some in Oregon, some in Washington, but definitely because it's their employee stores and you get the employee discount as well as sometimes a discount on top of that. So it's great. And online continuing education with PACE. Yeah, that's another one. But the last part, so we've got to end here. We're going to run through some travel apps really quick. So if we'll go put our slide ahead. Couple of them. Communication, WhatsApp, Facebook Messenger, and Skype. Those are probably the top 3 apps people use to communicate. You can communicate with phone calls as well as text messaging using the internet and not your cell phone service. So they are great. Trip management. Some apps are TripIt, TripCase, Google Trip. They all help you manage all of your paperwork from your itineraries to your flights to your rental cars, all of it. They're great. PackPoint is an app that actually makes a custom packing list
I gotta try that.
you. I know.
So cool.
It takes into account where you're going, what the current weather is, and what your activities are. So they're great.
Point.
PackPoint, it's great. My TSA, wonderful app. Obviously, it's a transportation services app. And it is a wealth of information with airport maps and many more on there. Going down to the next slide, we've got resources and navigation. I mentioned airport maps. I actually have a ton of airport maps on my phone. I've got Delta. That's the airline apps. I have Delta, I've got American, I've got United, all of them, because you can track your bags. There's your gate updates. There's maps of airports. They're wonderful. So when you have a changeover and you're landing in Dallas.
Your gate often changes. So
yes.
That's really
yes.
handy.
You just refer to the app. It's great. Other ones are Philo, My TSA. Those are other ones that'll do the same thing. When you're in country, Google Maps, I love it. You can use it online and offline. You can actually pinpoint certain areas on Google Maps. I have an entire one for Paris. If anyone's going to Paris, let me know. I have all these 8 places identified on a Google map, and I'm happy to share it. Lyft and Uber for domestic travel. They're also great ones. Google Translate, if you're in a country that doesn't speak English and you want to have a little bit more of know-how of where you are, it'll actually translate photos as well as
signs and things.
Yep, signs, and you can type in words and it'll translate.
Very handy on the signs.
Very handy. Currency XE is one of the best ones for a currency converter. So if you're not want to be double check your math and you're not know what exactly the exchange
when you're negotiating,
rate.
This is handy.
It's really handy to know exactly what you're paying for, because you don't want to get
sometimes
home
you get flustered
and realize you spent $50 for something that you should have only spent $5 on. Yes. And then I've got Trebi Pocket. It's for budget. If you can keep track of your expenses, it has a currency converter. You can enter in your receipts, so everything stays on budget. And then Mobile Passport is great if you don't have the pre-check or global entry. So Mobile Passport works in about 27 different airports within the United States, and it allows you to go into a speed line to get through customs, which is always great. And then I have a bunch of other ones listed there. One of them, Red Cross First Aid. That's a nice one just to have. Tunnel Bar or NordVPN. That's if you need a secure internet. Those are apps. A lot of them are paid service, but allows you to have a very secured connection. And then we'll skip to the next one. The last one, Informational Apps Culture Trip, I think is really great. It's locally sourced information of articles and tips from locals about places all over the world. There's writings, there's photos, there's videos. So it's a good one to check out. I also do love Rick Steves' audio tours. I listen to them before heading out.
For Europe.
Yep.
Yeah, he's fantastic.
They're free. They are great. They're good audio tours. And then we talked earlier about all kinds of podcasts and videos that are just on YouTube.
We can send more ideas for those, but yeah, there's a lot of really excellent podcasts out there.
Yeah, and then 2 really fun apps. One is Sky Map. If you love looking at the stars, it's a great one.
Anywhere you are.
Anywhere you are. You just put your phone up to the night sky, and I'll tell you what the constellations are.
We did that once, and the space station was going by.
Oh, that's
so that was pretty cool.
Yep, and Duolingo is a great app for learning a new language. So if you want to, and it's free too, you want to brush up on your Spanish or French or what have you, there's a ton of languages in the app. It's free, and you actually speak into the app, so it works on your pronunciation as well as reading. It's a great app.
If you could learn to say hello, thank you, where's the bathroom, always helpful, always appreciated.
Yay! So we
did it.
We did it.
Yay!
We skipped a little bit, but you'll get all of it in a paper document. So if there's something we skipped that you want more clarification on, just email us, let us know, and we will answer your questions.
Sure.
Do we have any other questions?
I have questions.
What are your questions?
For traveling, do you recommend phone and data plans, or what's your game plan?
Oh, that's a good question. So It depends on how much money you want to spend. If you are a Verizon user, because that's what I'm most familiar with, you can, for about $10 a day, you can use your current plan that you have in the United States and take it with you overseas. So whatever data you have, whatever plan you have, you can just use that overseas. Some people do that. Other people just use the free internet in the hotels. They use it a chance to get away, and then when they get back to the hotel, they plug into the hotel internet. They'll use WhatsApp, Skype, Facebook Messenger. You can make calls that way. You can do text messaging that way, and just checked in with loved ones.
And if there is an emergency or you absolutely need to get in touch with someone back in the States, the guide can help you do that.
Or if we're on the tour with you, you can use my phone.
For sure.
Yes.
For sure.
So it depends on how connected you want to be, and then how much money you want to spend. But yeah, there's options.
My second question, this is might be a little random. My mother-in-law likes her CBD oil. Do you know if there's rules for traveling?
There is rules. That's a really good question, actually. So yes, you can. Any federally approved products can go on planes. You have to declare it though. So when you go through your TSA checkpoint, you have to say, I have this. And you have to let them know that you have it. And it has to have 0.03% or less of THC in the product. If it has more than 0.03% of THC in the product, you cannot take it. But yeah,
that's a good question.
It is a good question. But they have to be products that are FDA approved to be able to take.
So the ones
CBD
you're buying
oil
on Amazon are, for the most part, or should you be buyer
hope
beware?
so.
Yeah. I mean, the muscle rubs and things like that.
Yes. Yeah. No, that's great. We also had another question about insulin pumps and supplies as well. Yes, you can take them. You just have to tell the TSA agent that this is, and they have to be clearly labeled, clearly marked. You can take syringes. They just have to be in a protective case. You can take your pumps. You can take your nebulizers, your CPAP machines, your BiPAP machines, your APAP machines.
Lord.
There's a lot of them.
Wow.
Yeah. You can take all of it. And there's on this handout that I'll give to everyone, there's a great resource on tsa.gov/travel, what can I bring in medical supplies? And it lists just absolutely everything. And I went through it. For the most part, everything is allowed except for oxygen tanks. Yeah. And you just have to really tell the TSA what you have in the bag. Otherwise, they'll take it. I mean, there'll be additional screening. They might, check your hands to make sure that there's no bomb residue on your hands, that type of thing. But yes.
But legally you can.
Yes. Yeah. And if, and liquids, a lot of times for medicines, you can take a little bit more, 3.4 ounces or 100 milliliters of liquids. For medicines, you're allowed to take on too.
Speaking of liquids, most of us try to take too many liquid items. Cut way back on that. You can get almost anything in a solid version or do the ones in the little bottles, but you can really, really limit your liquids. I would say that's the number one mistake most packers make, is trying to bring too big of bottles and too many liquids.
Yeah, there's shampoo bars and conditioner bars that you can buy instead of a liquid form. I have a friend who now just uses them at home because she likes them better.
There's moisturizers you can get in bar form.
Yep.
Sunscreen in bar form.
Yep. And that was another question we had. Someone came in and asked us ahead of time how to be better in your TSA lines. And what I would say, honestly, is think about your packing your bag before TSA. You go through. I always have an easily accessible, if I'm bringing my computer or if I'm bringing my iPad, whatever it is, it's easily taken out of my bag, almost like a secondary bag inside my big bag that I can just quickly take it out and then
your
go through the
toiletry,
line.
same thing. Just have it all ready to go.
Right. Put it at the top of your bag, so you don't have to dig to the bottom of your bag to try to find whatever it is.
Have socks on.
But yes.
Because barefoot at TSA is kind of yucky.
It's like barefoot bowling. You don't want to do it.
You don't want to do it.
You don't want to put
It's not recommended.
an unsocked shoe and a bowling shoe.
Correct.
Foot. Yes, definitely. So yeah, do you have any other questions?
That was it.
No, that was it. Great. So that was a lot. And so definitely give us a call if any questions, or send us an email, and I can answer, and Julie can answer anything else that you might be wondering about.
Thanks, everybody, and happy traveling.
Yes, thank you.
And we'll just add that this is recorded, and in your follow-up email, we'll send the recording, and we can also include the PowerPoint. So any of the things that I passed over pretty fast, you can spend a little bit more time, and I think you guys talked about you'll have links and other recommendations.
Yes. Yes.
And thank you so much, Kate and Julie. And I did want to provide just a real quick bit of information about professional continuing education. We have programs, like I said, from gardening to beer making, and we can also do customized team training. And I just want to thank Kate and Julie for coming here.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
We will wrap it up with that.
We had a blast.
Thank you.
Yes.